So we would welcome your thoughts on that, 657-464-7609, or you can send an email to idoubitit@dollemore.com. One thing we've also been talking about a lot is abortion, and we had Diana Foster Green on to discuss her book, The Turnaway Study, right before Roe was overturned.
Yeah.
And it's been almost a year since Roe was overturned.
Crazy.
Yes, and we are finding how important abortion is as an issue in mobilizing voters, especially with the consequential election that just happened on Tuesday. And there's going to be a few states that they discuss in this news package. One of them is in Idaho, where they recently, the Governor Brad Little, just signed a new bill into law where they created a felony crime of abortion trafficking, where if you take a minor across the state border to get an abortion and you do not tell their parents, then you could face, I think it's 2 to 5 years in prison.
Right.
And you will be convicted of a felony. And that also includes medication abortion. And then you have Wisconsin voters on Tuesday. It's going to be like a blend of good and bad news.
Yeah.
In Wisconsin, there's some good news because they elected a liberal candidate to the Supreme Court, which is going to flip the majority control from conservatives, and this is likely going to result in the reverse of the state's abortion ban and also end the gerrymandered legislative maps that have been drawn up by the Republicans in the state. So you're going to hear a mix of good news, bad news, but I think the main takeaway here is that abortion is a winning issue in elections.
It's been nearly 10 months since the end of Roe v. Wade and the beginning of abortion access falling solely under state control, with major developments in 4 states this week. In Idaho, the governor signed a controversial new law making it a felony for non-parent adults to help a minor cross state lines for an abortion, the first law of its kind nationwide. Planned Parenthood is slamming the measure as extreme, saying it will put young people in dangerous and isolating situations.
What would you say to critics who call this unnecessarily cruel?
I think, again, it's important that we protect the life of the unborn child. When it comes to minors, what the legislation requires is that parents essentially be informed.
In Florida, protests and arrests after the state Senate passed the so-called Heartbeat Protection Act, reducing abortion access from 15 weeks to 6.
If you vote for this ban, things will get worse. Women will die.
For 50 years, the killing of innocent children has been legal. Legal does not equate to right.
It all comes amid a pair of victories for abortion rights advocates. In Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed a repeal of the state's abortion ban on the books since 1931.
Abortion rights are now enshrined into our state constitution.
And in Wisconsin, abortion was at the heart of Tuesday's high-stakes election for a seat on the state Supreme Court, now set to be filled by the liberal candidate, all but ensuring abortion access in the state.
Wisconsin voters have made their voices heard.
Yes. Tonight, several more states are considering legislation that would either expand or restrict access to abortions. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
And it proved to be an historic voter turnout in Wisconsin in that Supreme Court race, where abortion, the issue, was front and center. Mm-hmm. So it is a motivating, inciting issue for voters, and Republicans are now scrambling. They're freaking out. I've read several Twitter threads from conservatives who are like, we need to get it together on this or we're going to lose elections forever. They act like they were going to be received as conquering heroes. It's like the George W. Bush when we invaded Iraq, that we would be, we're going to be liberators. They're going to love us. No, they didn't, and they don't. The same thing is happening with abortion right now across the country. And it is, one, it's good to look ahead, to know that people are animated by this. But it is bizarre that they, in their minds, really believed that it was going to be an issue for them that was going to be a winner.
Well, and I think that can be explained by their general rejection of public opinion overall, because if they accepted public opinion, they would be progressives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because progressive policies are widely accepted by the American public, and abortion was no different, where the vast majority of Americans support abortion rights. So when you come after abortion rights, you're going to have the majority of Americans that are unhappy with you doing that, especially when we're starting to see the negative ramifications of taking away abortion rights in these various states, including in states like Idaho that they just talked about with this new abortion trafficking law that they have created, and in Texas, where doctors are choosing to leave the state, and they're having to. 2 hospitals in Idaho have announced that they are closing their labor and delivery services because they can't keep them staffed because of the abortion law.
Now, we're seeing the same thing on a different issue, but happening across the country. And like you said, if they were going with what public opinion is, they would be progressives. The same thing can be said about guns. Right now, there is a fascist, anti-democratic move taking place in Tennessee where lawmakers are being ousted from their jobs, voted out by their colleagues, not by voters. Republicans are kicking out of the chamber, kicking out of being representatives, multiple people. Now, it ends up, shocker, in Tennessee, that 3 people were on the chopping block, 2 black men, 1 white woman. The white woman got to stay. The 2 black guys, they get booted by the chamber, and it's over guns. What I predict is going to happen is this is going to cause voters in Tennessee, younger voters, to rise up with righteous indignation and take back power. That's yet to be seen, but it's chaos on the ground in Tennessee right now.
They walked in hand as the Tennessee Three. Only one walked out, still a lawmaker. Tennessee Representatives Justin Jones, Gloria Johnson, and Justin Pearson addressed their colleagues in Nashville. But Americans all over were also watching.
We shall not bow.
I have to raise the voice of the people in my district.
Our silence about gun violence is the antithesis of what is in the best interest of the people of the state of Tennessee.
Power to the people.
Here's why the 3 Democrats had their seats on the line. Last week's protest on the State House floor with a bullhorn. They were angry about the lack of debate over gun laws after the slaughter at Nashville's Covenant School last week.
Just because you don't get your way, you can't come to the well, bring your friends, and throw a temper tantrum with an adolescent bullhorn.
Outraged Republicans here have a supermajority, more than enough votes to expel the 3 Democrats.
What is happening here today is a farce of democracy.
Justin Jones defended himself first, defiant, passionate, and voted out.
The jury.
I hereby declare Representative Justin Jones of the 57 Representative District expelled.
Gloria Johnson went next, a former teacher who had a student die in a school shooting.
It's the guns. It's the people that have the guns, because we are not doing anything to make sure that people who are not safe don't have guns.
The measure to expel Johnson failed by 1 vote. Finally, Representative Justin Pearson spoke.
I don't personally want attention. What I want is attention on the issue of gun violence. But instead, we're here with the resolution you put up talking about expelling me for advocating for ending gun violence in the state of Tennessee.
Pearson, like Jones, expelled.
A state in which the Ku Klux Klan was founded is now attempting another power grab by silencing the 2 youngest black representatives.
After the hearing, Johnson was asked why her seat was saved while the other 2 lawmakers lost theirs.
It might have to do with the color of our skin.
Allegations of racism were both part of the debate and the reaction after the vote. White Republicans expelled 2 lawmakers, both of them young black men. Both Jones and Pearson could run for their seats again, but Wendy, the question in the minds of a lot of people here is, should they really have to?
Definitely. And Mark, is there any way to get this decision reversed?
No, there really isn't. I mean, at this point, the legislature has voted, and what they did was in order. I mean, by the book, according to the way the legislative rules are set. And at this point, you know, these guys, their seats are empty for now. The local county commissions in their 2 districts will appoint someone to sit in those seats, and then the governor will eventually appoint a special election. And again, Jones and Pearson could run for those seats, but it's just been very convoluted and complicated. And right right now there are thousands of Tennesseans who don't have representation. And again, it's in the minds of a lot of people, this has been a real stain on the state just because of the racial dynamics involved and the optics of two lawmakers being told to hit the road, and both of them young black men.
Another case of racists not minding looking like racists. Here's the thing. You're going to hear a lot of people out there who are saying, well, if you want to pass a bill, you go through the proper channels and the proper parliamentary procedure, and you do what was necessary to get the bill passed. You debate it. If you fail, you fail. They shouldn't have participated in a protest with bullhorns on the floor of the Tennessee legislature. Maybe so. But to oust them is extreme, to say the least, especially when one of the three got to stay the white lady.
Right.
There are many, many weapons at the disposal of the Tennessee majority that didn't have to include expulsion. There could have been a censure. There could have been fines. They took the nuclear route rather than do something more reasonable because they know their argument is losing. They're afraid of what is taking place. And rather than do the reasonable thing, they did the thing that is going to fire up the passions of the voters of Tennessee, the young people of Tennessee, the reasonable people of Tennessee. And this is not going to end well, in my estimation, for Republicans who are losing the information war and the battle of hearts and minds of people all over the country.
We recently received a message of someone telling us that when we say the word Republican, there is like hostility that underlies our tone.
Okay.
And I thought it was an interesting message because it kind of gets to the heart of this discussion that people want us to be, quote unquote, fair and balanced, right? They want us to also criticize Democrats, which we do.
We do all the time.
But there's a clear difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party in this country. And the Republican Party is anti-democracy.
Yeah.
And so if we're talking about which party poses the biggest threat, we are going to be focusing on the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Because they pose the biggest threat to our democracy.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I think that this story encapsulates that well, illustrates that, because again, like you said, there were other options here that they had, but they're trying to send a message.
Less extreme options, but extreme is what the Republican Party does best. Mm-hmm. So, listen, we'd love to know what you think about this, especially if you live in Tennessee, especially if you live in one of these districts of these individuals in Tennessee. 657-464-7609. Of course, you can email a voice memo from your smartphone to idoubt@dollemore.com.